Okay, so this is an adventure today, everyone. So first we got kicked out of the store, and then Courtney's phone hit maximum capacity of storage, so we're now on my phone. So just enjoy the spontaneity and just experience that this class is not like our normal structured classes in the classroom, so that's kind of exciting for all of us. Okay, so again, I'm talking about merchandising principles, and I'm going to talk to you about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. I'm going to talk about 8 different ones, and then I'm going to actually ask you to go into the store and look for what I'm describing. So the first principle that I want to talk about is this idea of less is more, or edit to amplify. So what that is, it's when you think about merchandising product, you're showing one product, or maybe two, but ideally one product, and you're really making that one product the hero or the feature. And so you're showing less in order to really amplify what you're showing. Rather than showing full outfits, you're showing perhaps just the shirt. And I actually saw an example of this, Courtney. You can probably zoom in. Right when you enter the store on the left side, there's a Nike men's Breathe shirt. And you'll see it there. There are 3 mannequins. Or 3 bust forms. Actually, we call it a bust form when it's just the top or the bottom, not the full mannequin. So you'll see 3 bust forms there showing the men's Breathe shirt. And they've really edited to amplify. So they could have put pants on that. They could have put shoes, but they're just intentionally showing you the Breathe shirt. So that's a great example of less is more, or edit to amplify. And actually, I didn't see a ton of examples in the store of this concept, so I would encourage you, when you go through the mall, to actually look for more examples of edit to amplify. You'll see it definitely. The more premium the retailer is that you go into, you'll see that. And think about, for example, Chanel handbags, how they would be merchandising the store. You would have a bag really amplified on its own. You wouldn't have it cluttered with a bunch of different bags. So you'll see less is more, edit to amplify, be a more prominent merchandising principle the more premium the retail store is. So you definitely are not going to see that in a Zoomies or a PacSun or kind of lower end sporting goods retail. Okay, so the second principle that I want to mention is create impact with repetition. So it is exactly what it sounds like. So actually make an impact on the consumer by showing the product a number of different times. Sometimes in the same color over and over again, sometimes in different colors. And there are lots of examples of create impact with repetition. So I'd like you to go into the store, or stay in the store, and I noticed in the Nike women's space, I noticed if you're facing the right side of the store once you enter, there's a big wall on the far right of shorts, and it's Nike's women's Tempo running short, and they've got rows and rows of them. So that really is creating impact. You'll see it with a lot of other product in the Nike space, where they're creating an impact by showing a product several times. And we even see that with that first example that we looked at, less is more, edit to amplify. They're creating impact by repeating that Breathe shirt. It's a couple different styles, so it's not as impactful of an example of that principle, but you'll see this principle a lot in the store. The third principle that you'll see a lot in the store is use of color. So a number of the Nike table presentations are using color to make an impact. So I noticed right when you walk in the store, Courtney, there, right behind the Kyrie Engage presentation, there's a table presentation of men's t-shirts, and look at how they're using color. They've got 3 bust forms there in green, white, and red, and then they've got all the different colors that you can get that shirt in underneath. So that's a really nice use of color. Another important merchandising principle is the use of storytelling, and we've talked about this a decent amount in class. And how do you tell a story that connects with a consumer? One of the ways that sporting goods brands do it at retail is they use athletes. And if you go into the Nike basketball space, Courtney, can you show them where I'm describing? Right when you're facing the store, there's a huge image of Kyrie in the men's basketball space, and it talks there about you know, him being a champion. There's some copy there on the bottom of the image, and then it shows him obviously training, really huge image, and making an impact by showing the athlete and talking about the performance and the accomplishments of the athlete. So that's a nice example of use of storytelling. The next merchandising principle is change it up, or sometimes we call that keep it fresh. And so you'll definitely see windows are a great example of change it up or keep it fresh. You'll certainly see that as well with engage level presentations. So I can guarantee you when that Kyrie men's basketball window goes away for Nike, their engage table is going to change, and that will definitely keep it fresh for the shopper, because that table presentation right when you enter there is really important. You can't miss it. And so for a consumer who comes back to the store regularly, let's say once a month, it's important that that consumer have a fresh experience in the store when they return. And so that table, for example, right when you enter would be a really great way to change it up or keep it fresh. The next merchandising principle that I want to mention is showcasing statement items, and that's really making sure that in your presentation you're giving your statement or your most important products a feature or enough space in your retail space. So I noticed the bra wall for Nike Women's. When you're in the space, if you start at the front of the store and you walk to the right into the women's space, you'll notice a huge wall of bras and some really nice messaging around the levels of support that the different bras provide. And just to give one product that much wall space it is a really nice way to showcase that statement item. What I've noticed definitely throughout the space at Dick's is the principle of creating outfits. So all throughout the store, in the Nike space and beyond, you're seeing lots of outfits being created. And why they do that is they try to inspire the consumer with how you can put together looks. That's something that a lot of people have a tough time with, and so the use of mannequins will really give people the inspiration in order to say, oh, I really could pair those pants with that top. And then mannequins done well will be positioned in close proximity to the product, so the consumer isn't having to go through the whole store looking for product. One of the worst things that a store can do is have mannequins wearing product that the consumer can't buy because it's out of season or it's sold out. Same thing goes for thinking about what your sales associates are wearing. You don't want them wearing product that isn't current. So you'll see a lot of stores or brands have incentives for sales associates to be wearing current product, like a discount, or brands will often give sales associates some what we call swag, or free product, because they want the sales associate to be pushing that product. And the sales associate, if they've actually worn it, they can talk about the performance of the product and how great it is. And then the last principle that I want to mention for merchandising principles is this idea of using space wisely. So at retail, space is at a premium, and we're not really experiencing that here at Dick's Sporting Goods because it's such a large store. But as you go into the mall and as you look at smaller stores, I want you looking at how they're using the space in the store. And Courtney and I did notice in the Under Armour space, if you would walk over to the men's Under Armour space, and you'll know that you're there when you're between the two escalators. You're in the men's Under Armour space, and it's really not an ideal space, but they've done a really nice job at using that space. They've got a strong presentation of product, a nice amount of product, but it's not too much. They've been very clever. Look up and notice how they've branded this space in between the two escalators, really making it feel stronger and more dominant and more impactful than it would if it was just product merchandised on the floor in between those escalators. So they've done a really nice job there at using that space wisely. Just gonna have a sip of water. And then the other thing that a couple other things actually. So I want to just touch on fixtures and imagery. before you guys come back out and meet with me. So I want you to go back into the store, and if you're still in the Under Armour, actually if you're in the Under Armour men's section, that's perfect, because I found lots of examples of what I want to talk to you about fixtures right there. So for apparel, there are different ways that you can present product. So notice the Under Armour men's fixtures. The fixtures have what we call an arm on them, and the arm is where the product, what the hanger is attached to. And all the fixtures in the Under Armour men's section are what we call straight arm, right? So it's just straight across, the product hangs all along the same row. I didn't see any examples of another type of arm called a waterfall arm. I didn't see any in Dick's Sporting Goods, but I bet you're going to notice some as you go to other retail stores. And the waterfall arm is what it sounds like. So instead of being a straight arm, it's a waterfall. So the product cascades down so that you see, you actually see the product behind each piece. So you'll notice that in some stores. Another example of an apparel fixture would be an apparel shelf. So in the Under Armour men's space again, I noticed some shelves along the wall there. They don't have apparel merchandised on them. They actually have hats, but you could easily have apparel on those wall displays. And then it's important to note as well some freestanding apparel displays. So obviously you can have apparel displayed on walls, and you can also have apparel displayed on freestanding fixtures. And what do I mean by freestanding fixtures? Anything that's not attached to a wall. So you could have and you'll see them all around you in the Under Armour men's space, a freestanding apparel fixture. So you've got, again, you're seeing those straight arms, you're seeing some shelves right there on a freestanding fixture that's showing apparel. And the nice thing with those freestanding fixtures is they're pretty easy to move around the space versus the walls. You can move the arms, but the walls, moving those is a lot more difficult. And then the last thing to notice with apparel presentations is tables are very commonly used to display apparel. And if you walk through the Under Armour men's space a little bit more, you'll see a men's table presentation for Under Armour. Okay, so that's apparel and how apparel is typically displayed. So think about that if you have an apparel product, because you will have to make a decision on for the assignment on how you want to display your product. So notice what you see in Dick's Sporting Goods. I want you noticing what you see in other stores in the mall for how apparel is displayed. And when you see something that you really like, take a picture of it. So for footwear, there are some different fixture options. The footwear wall is obviously the dominant one that we're seeing here in Dick's Sporting Goods. So walk over to the footwear area if you're not there already, and you see that footwear wall really wrapping that whole space. So that's definitely important real estate. You also see, and Nike seems to own most of that real estate. So again, we know who the priority brand is for this store. And then you'll notice the other brands, for the most part, are on what we call freestanding footwear fixtures. So again, those can be, typically more easily moved throughout the space. They are kind of an afterthought compared to that beautiful big footwear wall, so not as ideal. But what you are seeing as well in the footwear area is some table presentations, many table presentations actually. You notice them from lots of different brands as you walk around the footwear space. You're seeing, and notice how different they are. You're seeing, footwear on pedestals, footwear flat on tables, footwear integrated into more interesting presentations. So, notice the different ways that footwear is being displayed, and think about, if you have a footwear product, how you want to display your product at retail. And notice what you're seeing here in Dick's, but also notice what you see as you go through the mall. I think probably, honestly, your best examples of footwear presentations and the fixtures that you can use are going to be here in Dick's. So if you're a footwear brand, I would definitely spend time in here. Same thing goes for an equipment brand. I think how you're seeing equipment presented at Dick's is going to be probably for sporting goods, certainly as good as you're going to see in the mall. But I would challenge you, if you're an equipment team, to spend some more time in the mall and just look at how brands that aren't sporting goods brands are presenting equipment, and is there anything you can learn from that. And then footwear shelves. You'll notice all the product is actually sitting on something. In an owned door, you would definitely probably be doing more with the footwear shelf. You'd have a label on it. You'd probably have a price on it. You don't have as much control as we talked about in a partner door. So for the most part, we're just seeing really simple footwear shelves that the different brand footwear is displayed on. And then I didn't see any examples of footwear towers. A tower really is a variation of a table, but a tower would actually display a number of pieces of footwear, not just one or two. So I didn't see any footwear towers in the store.
Journeys usually has a lot.
Oh, do they?
Of them.
Okay,
yeah.
so notice if you pass Journeys, notice any footwear towers in there. Okay, we are almost done. Before we wrap up, I do want to mention the difference between some of the types of imagery that you're seeing in the store. So, we started talking about this at the beginning with looking at these two window presentations that we're back outside in front of now. And the Adidas image that you see, the window, that image is a brand campaign. So Here to Create is a brand campaign. There is not any particular product that they are talking about in that window. So that would be an example of a brand campaign image, versus the Nike window, that is a product campaign image. So that's a very specific focus on the Kyrie 3 men's basketball shoe. So I want you to understand the difference between the brand campaign image and the product campaign image. And then the other thing that I'd like you to do is walk through the store and actually go all the way to the back and go outside the store. Just go to the exterior entrance to the store and look at what you see in those windows. Do you see any brand campaigns? Do you see any product campaigns? I looked briefly as I walked in, and all I saw was a third category of images, which we call evergreen or 365, and what those are images that can live 365 days a year. They're not part of a brand campaign or part of a product campaign, and you're going to see a lot more evergreen or 365 images. As the level of door goes down, you're going to see the majority of the images be evergreen images, because there isn't the budget to change those images out as often, so they'll use an evergreen image. So notice those images on the exterior entrance to the mall, to the store, excuse me, and you'll notice those are evergreen examples. So although it wasn't exactly smooth, this went a lot smoother last year, I will have you know. We got through it, and we still have the other videos that haven't been taken from us. So come and join us where you started, in the mall entrance to Dick's Sporting Goods, and let's talk about what you saw, any questions that you have, and let's talk about the assignment, which we will get you doing here in a few minutes. So I know that was a lot of information, and thank you for going through it with the 3 different videos. Sorry that was a bit of a drag, but I appreciate your patience and appreciate you being interested in the material. And come see me, and we'll get talking about the next part of this class. So thank you. Thanks, Courtney.
See you soon.